Hi everyone! In this video, we're going to be comparing the Umidigi F1 Play to the Umidigi F1. So let's get started. Follow me on Instagram at KevinBreezeTV. Please join the Kevin Breeze Tech community on Facebook to chat about budget smartphones, ask questions, and help others. So I really should have made this video a long time ago when I first got these phones, but this is the F1 Play and this is the F1. Now the F1 came out first, of course, but several months later, Umidigi did come out with the F1 Play. Now currently you can get the F1 Play on Amazon for $219.99. However, they're currently offering $20 off, which actually puts this phone at the same exact price as the Umidigi F1 at $199. Now, there's no doubt that the F1 Play is probably the better phone to get over the F1 if they're the same exact price, but there are some benefits with the F1 over the F1 Play and vice versa that I will be covering in this video. Now, these two phones are GSM devices, so if you use AT&T or T-Mobile or Metro by T-Mobile or Cricket, then you're definitely gonna have a good experience with these phones. Now you can also use these phones with Verizon, but the only thing about that is that they don't support every band that Verizon has. So if you're in like a rural area, you probably won't have the best coverage. But if you're in a more urban area, Verizon should work fine with these phones. Now both of these phones are available in red or black. So I have the red Umidigi F1 Play here, and this is the black Umidigi F1 to give you an idea of what the two colors look like. So let me know in the comments below which color you prefer. Now both devices feature the same display at 6.3 inches at 1080p with a 19.5 by 9 aspect ratio. We have teardrop notches on the top, and they both feature 16 megapixel front-facing cameras. Now one difference between these two devices is the amount of internal storage that you get. So with the F1 Play, you get 64 gigs of internal storage, and with the F1, you get 128 gigabytes of internal storage. So double the amount of internal storage with the F1 over the F1 Play. Neither of these two phones feature wireless charging, but they both do have fingerprint sensors on the back. So we'll do a demonstration of that right now. So 1, 2, 3, go. There we go. We're good. So a good fingerprint sensor on the F1 Play, and now for the F1, there's the fingerprint sensor on that device. So good fingerprint sensors in both phones, very convenient. So overall, very nice. Now on the back side, we have some differences with the cameras. So with the F1 Play, we have a 48 megapixel main camera and an 8 megapixel secondary camera. And on the F1, we have a 16 megapixel main camera with an 8 megapixel secondary camera. So definitely better cameras on the F1 Play, and from my personal usage, I've definitely noticed that. Now both phones feature portrait mode, which is good. So if you're really into portrait mode, you'll like these both. Now the F1 Play has 6 gigs of RAM, the F1 has 4 gigs of RAM, so you're getting more RAM with the F1 Play. Both phones feature the same MediaTek Helio P60 processor, which is a very good processor from MediaTek. Here are the benchmark scores from the two phones. And what's interesting is that it seems like the F1 actually scores a little bit higher. I wasn't really expecting that. And I don't know why it says F1 for the F1 Play score here. This is the F1 Play, no doubt about that. I have confirmed it with CPU-X, but it looks like with the CPU score, we get a higher score with the F1 Play, but the overall score for the F1 is better. That doesn't really make any sense, especially since we're getting more RAM with the F1 Play. Now video recording with both phones maxes out at 1080p at 30 frames per second. Both phones feature beefy 5150 mAh internal batteries, and they both feature Android 9 Pie, which is the latest version of Android, and it is a stock experience here, which I'm a big fan of. Now the hardware of these devices is pretty much identical. As I mentioned before, we have the same display, same aspect ratio and everything. On the left side of these two devices, we have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. On the right of the phones, we have the volume rocker and power button. On the top, we have just the noise canceling microphone. On the bottom, we have the same setup with a speaker, the USB-C port for charging and data transfer. We have the microphone, and we have the 3.5mm headphone jack. And then on the bottom, we have the camera, we have the fingerprint sensor, and we have the Umidigi logo. And you can see that both phones feature that really nice polycarbonate material on the back. Let's now do a real-life speed test comparison between these two phones. So we're going to start off with the cameras. So 1, 2, 3, go. Looks like it was about the same on both devices. Let's pull up Google Chrome. 1, 2, 3, go. And that was pretty much equal. Let's go to Yahoo. 1, 2, 3, go. Looks like the F1 Play is a little bit quicker at pulling up Yahoo. Let's go to Engadget.com. 1, 2, 3, go. F1 Play was also quicker at pulling up Yahoo. We'll do a little bit of scrolling here. Both phones are very quick and smooth with scrolling, so no problem there. And I just went to this link by accident. Let's go to this link. 1, 2, 3, go. And that was very close to equal. So which phone is a better choice out of the two? Well, if you really value internal storage, then it's definitely very appealing to go with the F1, which has double the amount of internal storage. But if you're really into taking pictures and you don't really need the storage as much, the F1 Play is probably the better option because you get 6 gigs of RAM instead of 4. You get the 48 megapixel main camera versus 16 megapixels. But like I said, you get half the amount of internal storage at 64 gigs. Now, for me personally, I think the F1 Play is the best of all worlds here, and I personally don't mind having 64 gigs versus 128. So I'd go with the F1 Play personally, but if you do typically load a lot of stuff on your phone and you don't want to rely on a micro SD card, then you might want to get the F1 because you really do have a ton of internal storage with 128 gigabytes. But let me know what you think. This was really a quick comparison just because I've done so much coverage of these phones already. But this is Kevin here. This is the Umidigi F1 Play. This is the Umidigi F1. Take a look at the links in the video description to buy these phones, and I'll see you in the next video.